shuka, tena yu tayari kuwa mgeni kwako, usipoteze nafasi hata kidogo. We shuka, ndugu yangu shuka chini, huyu uliopanda wewe ndiwe wajua. We shuka chini, Yesu anapita leo mwenzangu shuka, tena yu tayari kuwa mgeni kwako, usipoteze nafasi hata kidogo.
All right. Asante sana. All right. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Willie.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Oh, my name is Willie Oeba. I am an urban spoken word artist, a human rights defender, and a Ford Global Fellow, class of 2024. I use art for social change. My aim is to agenda set and to inspire the revolution of the mindset. Just like Tupac says, my idea is not to change the world, but to spark the mind that will change the world, because true leadership is in delegation. So today I have a poem. It's called Dear Citizen. I wrote it in 2022, and I released it in 2023, 10 months ago. And yesterday I had an altercation with the Nakuru governor, terming poetry as little emotional, nonsensical piece. But I want to reiterate that the position of art in this struggle is very important into setting the agenda and setting the conversation. So here it goes. The president is setting a bad precedent. The first two letters stands for PR in the residence. Government ministry imekuwa retirement schemes na paupers taxes ni dividends. Sijuzi muliona, small fish break the law anakujiwa, but big fish break the law, Nurdin Haji. The president used to be a symbol of national unity, lakini of late imekuwa a symbol of national disunity. Before election, the president hakuwa anaona citizens but potential voters. After elections, sahi anaona taxpayer. Kwa election yeni both the referee and the player. Upon introduction of some crazy tax, akitaka atakuona kama housing fund contributor, I'm not surprised. Akitaka kwa State of the Nation address, ataona fellow Kenyans, and this year's award goes to him, the most chronic liar. Wacha vile wazima moto show up na fire brigade hazina maji, sahi ndio gava imerealize time citizen amechoka, they have been playing with real fire. Hakuna kitu ya free. After 5 years ndo IB flyer. Hata freedom while to promise is coming tomorrow. It's been 2 solid years na bado tunangoja ni kubaya. But what pisses me off shamelessly, na hizo paragraph zote za manifesto ya UDA bado haoni haya. Dear citizen, the first in command doesn't have the will. We need a spare. You committed your vote in sickness and in health, but he gavani player. Mvua inatunyeshea time the president is promising over the moon. Projects za gava zina difference na trailers za movie, both are always coming soon. As if 2007 we weren't born, guess who is giving advice on free and fair elections? Karua, reverse psychology. Hii ni ile government ya digital government ilishindwa kupeana laptop ikaintroduce CBC. Sasa tuna cry for justice na 2013 na 2022 tulichagua alumni wa ICC. Juu pesa ya kisima waliiba, and that's the damn truth. Sudden death is viewed kama spoiled votes, that's the sad truth. Hakuna food, shelter, matter, clothing, that's the naked truth. Mayuta wana fare kwenda job interview, politician kenye na msumbua ni mafuta ya ndege, that's the plain truth. Life ain't easy, that's the hard truth. It's not about thugging, drugs do ina create ma wasted youth. Inchi machef hawezi afford ile food wana cook. Domoptician wanalipo wezi hata piga look. Kill sin to see God, hata mtoe tithe aje ticket ya heaven and unuliwi maimuk. Itakuwaje cry za tajiri ni intellectual, lakini cry za maskini kwa masikio justice ni kelele. Itakuwaje mna believe in me na nikicheza kimimi mnashikwa na kiwewe. Itakuwaje mnaninyima opportunity ya kupata kazi, lakini kwa club mnataka nipewe. Na effect ya nguvu ya thao inafika malinduru ya mnyonge iwezi fika. Ballot box na DSTV zinafika malidisha iwezi fika. Watoto wanalala njaa, jumuli kunywa na pesa ya kula, na vizuri mnajua pombe iwezi lika. Wanasiasa wanadanganya. Si movie peke yake ni kutriki. Hata wewe ukisaidia rafiki yako pesa yako, unapoteza rafiki yako na pesa yako. Wonder why uko heartbroken na ile hoteli yenye unaenda ukiwa na manzi yako, ukiwa peke yako, huwezi jipeleka. Unatafuta mapenzi wapi na wewe mwenyewe umeshindwa kujipenda? Omba mabeste, watakunyima wanunue na waende online wakutag. Madawa na mabeste zinashindana kukudrag. KPLC wakidhani wamezima stima, najua hapa ndani kuna wale wako na maplug. Watoto wanaomba pesa na vikombe, lakini ukipita late night wao tu ndio watakumag. Jesus alibetraywa na kiss. Nyinyi mko hapa ndani mnajichocha juu mlipewa hug. Wajinga nyinyi. Na tuachane wa girls wasome. Jutambiaje de malchika ball akiwa high school education is the key na alishajifungua. So I'll say it for the last time. No girl will miss school because of a menses. Period. Thank you.
All right. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? How long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this since 2014.
Right.
And I started doing pieces on social justice in 2017. So
Yes.
I was almost shot. I come from Nakuru. I was almost shot for mistaken identity. Then I started doing pieces on social justice because my philosophy is always, if then we stop writing, that what happens to people who cannot hold the pen. So that idea of police brutality really changed my perspective on how I see things. So I started writing pieces on social justice from 2017.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I perform, by the way, I perform in matatus. I do civic education in matatus at the streets, and I have my own concept events. So if you happen to see me on kwa matatu anywhere, just say hi. Thank you.
Poa sana,
Okay.
poa sana, poa sana. Thank you. Asante. Maybe we can call you later utupatie nyingine ukiwa nayo.
Kabisa iko.
Asante. Thank you very much. Okay. Kuna watu wana miss bana, kuna watu wana miss, kuna watu wako jela, kuna watu wamefunguliwa mashtaka yenye haiwahusu. Sijui mtawasaidiaje. Kuna jamaa nimeona hapa anaitwa Clinton ako Industrial Police. Willis, hii haikuwa space yetu na wewe ni ya vijana, lakini sasa are you able to follow up this case? Huyu jamaa atoke bana. Mtu amekaa ndani more than 3 weeks bana. Hakuna kitu tunafanya. Tunamsaidiaje Willis bana? Huyu jamaa anaitwa Clinton, alafu mwana wengine pia.
Ndatafuta jina yake. Then kesho niende huko Industrial area. Nitakupigia unipatie details.
Okay.
Ama utume tu kwa DM.
Oh. So before uende, what do you think about this cabinet thing? Hii kitu wamekoroga jana juzi.
You know, ya muhimu hapa hizi tu ni nonsense. Tunapangwa tuna hii Ruto na watu wake. Because hii cabinet si cabinet ya wase. Na si cabinet ya Wakenya. It's just somebody who has sat down with this Cabral that they want to put us in slavery. And if you go behind every nominee, you'll find the story of what interest they represent. And none of those nominees represent the interest of the people of Kenya. And that is quite telling. Take, for example, Alice Wahome, which interest is she representing? And she's going to superintend of affordable housing. Look for this nominee for health. Where was she working before she came here? What interest is she representing? WHO. What is their interest in the people of Kenya? So, and you can go down the entire list. Look at Aden Duale, defense. What is the interest with Somalia and the border, the minerals within our offshores, the seaside, and the security in that area? All these CSS are representing a particular interest, which is not the interest of the people of Kenya. I always say, this conversation is about the people's agenda. And William Ruto does not get it. And these people don't get it. These guys are slaves, and they want to turn us to be their slaves. It is said that when the wicked are in authority, the nation mourns. And when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. We are all agreed that the people of Kenya are now mourning. That is an affirmation that the wicked are in authority. And it is our duty as the citizens of this country to do everything within our power and control to make sure that we remove William Ruto and his Cabral from power. As it is, this regime has overtaxed us. Now, they are using an ingenious way to get money from us and to use that money to buy weapons, tear gas, to attack us, the very citizens. You saw the last 2 weeks, they've floated bonds, domestic bonds and bills in our domestic market. Whose money is that? And why were they floating 2 bills in 1 week? It's because they're looking for money to buy more ammunition, to buy more tear gas. And who is the intended recipient of those tear gas? To whom is it going to be used? Not Al-Shabaab. The tear gas is meant for the people of Kenya. Whose money did they use when they came to the domestic market? They used the money belonging to the people of Kenya. Your own money. Ile pesa yako kidogo umeweka KCB. Ile pesa yako kidogo umeweka cooperative. Ile pesa yako kidogo umeweka Equity. That is the money that is lent to William Ruto's government in the domestic market. Then they are using that money to oppress you. They are borrowing money way ahead, up to over 60 years ahead. You are now being turned into a slave. And for what use was that money applied? If it was not stolen to reach their pocket, to enrich their pockets, it was used to buy weapons and tear gas to oppress you, so that you can continue to be their slave and to feed that financial Ponzi scheme. You will always be working for them. Every time you deposit money in any of those 3 banks, it is going into their pockets. Part of it is used to control you. So if we've been their slaves all these years, the time has come when we must rise up and say, no, you cannot use my own money to harm me. You cannot use my own money to buy tear gas to throw at me. You cannot use my own money to buy bullets to kill me when I just exercise my Article 37 rights to demonstrate and to ask for good governance. So, kila mtu has a role to play. There are those who have gone to the streets. There are those who are speaking on these issues. But even if you are somewhere and you feel that you believe in a better Kenya, the people's agenda, where we can find a way to unshackle ourselves from this yoke of slavery, I urge you, go and do a scan of the top leading banks that are lending to the Kenyan government illegally. Why should your money be used to oppress you? Why should your money be used to make you a slave? And the top leading banks lending to Kenya government today is KCB, Equity, and Cooperative. Why should we have our deposits in those banks? In fact, I've seen there was a notice that we should be occupying those banks. And any Kenyan can go in that space, write to your bank manager, write a text message, write a petition, occupy the banks that are lending money to the government to oppress us and to enslave us. Tell them you will not apply our deposits to an illegal lending scheme. If they don't listen, then we should be able to take courage and appear in any of those banks, their respective branches, and say, no, do not use our money to fund our oppression.
Thank you.
The banks must stop lending money to William Ruto illegally. The next tier are the international lending institutions, IMF and World Bank. They are not here to further the Kenyan people's interests. They are here to further the interests of the colonialists, the neo-colonialists who are trying to control Africa and Kenya. I was very happy to see some Kenyans in America did a demonstration yesterday outside the offices of World Bank and the IMF. That is how it should be. We must also start putting these lending institutions. What are the terms? What are the conditions of this money that you are giving to the Kenyan people? Are you just perpetuating our slavery? The time has come when the people of Kenya must say, enough is enough, and our slavery must end. And slavery is in every sector. We are all slaves. They are turning us into their slaves. We now have the platform to understand their game, and we are going to defeat them by applying our minds to modern ways and innovations that will make their attempts to fail. The one for domestic lending, we can take control locally as Kenyans. We stop giving money from our accounts being used by the banks to lend to government illegally.
Okay. Thank you.
They steal higher interests, they buy weapons to maim us and to kill us and to tear gas us.
All right.
The international ones, we should also be able to tell them, no, we will not allow any continued lending to the Kenyan government without adhering to our laws. That's all I wanted to say at this particular point, Amerix.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Willis, for that. The main aim when I was reaching you is we follow, if you can follow up on, especially that young man called Clinton. How can he be in jail?
That I confirm. I'll follow up his case tomorrow.
Please, it's very bad.
I'll just reach out to you on DM. You give me the name and the facility where it's being
Please, I'll appreciate. Now, my co-host Edgar and Cyprian, thank you very much for joining. I want to invite this issue of missing persons. I just want Where's Wangeshi to just say something, because Willis is still here. You can link up with him and see if we can get those who are still in you know, there are those who are in cells, nobody knows, nobody has gone for them. We want everyone to be part, to come back to our nation, to be part of us. We don't want people to be behind bars while we are here having some form of freedom. It's not full freedom, it's some form of freedom. Court, OCS, what do you want to say about these missing persons?
Amerix, hope unanipata.
Poa sana kabisa.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for coming to this citizen assembly. Vile Amerix alisema, this is our assembly. It is not his. Na ameshasema hii ni yetu. We are here to address our concern, because at the moment we have, I think this is the biggest issues nimeona tangu nizaliwe. I'm a millennial, born and bred in Eldoret, Kapsaret constituency. But, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. It's good to say that. Amerix, and my fellow Kenyans, it's shocking that so many youths, because the youth wamepotea. Right now, mimi kama leo, from yesterday, mpaka sahi, nimepata almost 15 DMs from parents, from family members, and from friends. Wakiniambia, Warui, kuna watu wetu wamepotea, post for us. I have tried. Zingine hata sija post, but nimejaribu vile naweza. Amerix, and my fellow Kenyans, the most shocking thing is that people are disappearing mysteriously under unclear circumstances. From na hii issue escalate sana from date 25 last month. So many people have been missing since then. I don't know what is going on. Watu wanabebwa, wanapotea. The other day we saw when I think it's LSK and others guys who are hosting a citizen assembly. There was a lady, alikuwa anajiita Mama Mwangi, and she was in pain. She was saying that kijana yake amepotea na hajaambiwa kwenye yako. And you could see the pain from that woman. She was crying and asking LSK members wamsaidie. I don't know what is going on. And shockingly, hakuna mtu amekuja kutuambia. The government imeamua kukua mum on that issue, and all the others investigative agencies wameamua kunyamaza. But again, I have an issue with my fellow influencers and ex-users. There is a trend that we have normalized. There's classism and iko kwa up that when certain people are being arrested or when certain people are being abducted, some people do not come out and they don't speak. I don't know why. Mambo ya kushikwa, mambo ya kukuwa abducted, hizi mambo ya kunyamaza. We should keep our differences aside, my fellow Kenyan Onek, tafadhali. Hii ndio wakati tunafaa tunapiga nduru, whether you are big or small, because this thing is now serious. Na shockingly, most of these people wanapatikana wamededi under unclear circumstances. Na the issue now, kama pale City Mortuary nimeona this week, most families wanaenda pale, wanapata their kids who have been missing, wanawapata pale wamerekodiwa kama accident victims. Yani kuna vitu fishy hazijulikani. But my message to influencers, if you're an influencer here, tafadhali, let's put our differences aside. Tuache issue of mingi madharau kidogo na maringo, haitatusaidia. It's time. Kuna vijana hata wadogo wameshikwa hata wana followers hapa. Wanashikwa na tuongei. Watu wananyamaza. Kwa nini tunanyamaza? When we tukiongea ndio itatusaidia. Kuongea kwetu ndio itatusaidia majamaa. Tuongee. Tuache kudraw the line. This is no time for drawing the line. Unajua, the more tunaongea, the more these people watawacha kushika watu and eventually itaisha. Because now we are living in a country whereby hata tunaishi na uoga. Unaishi kwa nchi yenu but unaishi na uoga. Jujui kama unaweza bebwa anytime. It's so sad. These are serious concerns. So many people are missing. Today, leo kuna dem tulikuwa tunaongelelea hapa amepotea. Anaitwa I think Shelmith Wanjiru. She's from Thika. Wanasema amepotea, I don't know, a week ago or two. Shockingly, she was found around in Migori. Where she was, venye alifika Migori haijulikani. Na wanasema she is in critical condition. Information that I'm yet to confirm. Thank you. Warui. Hello?
Hello, Warui. Hello. Are we available?
Yes, we are available, but I think there is a problem with Cyprian. Can you be able to get Amerix?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I think the problem nilikuwa muted. Sorry for that. Hope bado mnanipata.
Ngoja, unanisikiza?
Nakusikia.
Nilikuwa nimesema you can hold on a bit. Message yangu imeenda but kuna message we talk about missing people. Sio kama wangesha amepatikana. Professor, kuna issue inatusumbua sana hii Kenya na watu wanaongelea. Tutachanganya nayo missing hii issue ya ID. This issue of ID cards. Unajua kuna vitu mingi zina happen mpaka tunashindwa tuna build hii momentum ndio, you know, so the government can behave, because this government has failed in every sector, kila sector. Hata tu a simple thing like ID cards, surely. Kijana mdogo ametoka shule 18 years after ID for 3 years. Unapata ID ukiwa mzee. Unashida tu sasa kazini, unasida kutafuta kazi, unaanza kutafuta ID. Sijui professor ya wapi hiyo story. Mulifika wapi hiyo story professor?
Comrade, mnanisikia?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Sawa. So, nashukuru sana na wasalimia. Si issue tumekuwa nayo. history ya IDs actually kutoka kuanza kupost hiyo story ya IDs for the last kama 1 ama 2 weeks hivi. So tukapata kwa DM watu wengi sana wanatuandikia wanaandika hizo complaints ati niliapply ID the last 1 year bado haijatokea passport. Tukashangaa kwani ni aje. Juu ilianza na issue ya kuna ndugu yetu alikuwa ameapply ID, alikuwa anafaa join university August next month. So ID yake imechelewa. Sasa tukafikiria inaweza kuwa labda ni kesi yake peke yake. Basi venye tumeanza kupost for the last kama 2 weeks hivi, watu wengi wanatuandikia hapo kwa DM, wanatuandikia, watu wanatuma waiting cards, wanasema ID, unapata mtu aliapply ID the last kama 1 year hivi na bado haijatokea. Sisi tukashangaa kama 2021 hapo kuna time hata mimi nilikuwa nimepoteza ID. Nikaenda nika-apply. Hiyo time ID ilikuwa inatoka, ulikuwa una-apply maximum ilikuwa inachukua kama 14 days ushapatiwa time we ID yako umeenda ukabadilishiwa. Juu hata hiyo time ndo nipige kura 2022 ID yangu ilikuwa imepotea, nikaenda nika-apply. Na hiyo time mkumbuke, hiyo time Ministry of Interior hii ya saa hii tulikuwa na PS wangapi? Tulikuwa tuna mmoja, ule mwenye alikuwa anaitwa Karanja. Saa hii tuko na PS 3. Huyu Raymond, kuna mwingine anaitwa Julius Pitok, alafu kuna mwingine hapa anaitwa Salome. PS 3. So wakati William aliwaweka, I'm sorry mimi naitaga ya William sababu nimezoea for a long time. Wakati aliweka hao PS 3 sisi tukasema labda PS 3 wakiwekwa, unajua mambo inaweza kuwa efficient. Tuseme labda ule mmoja hata tulikuwa tunachukua 14 days ndo tupate ID. Wakiwekwa 3 this time labda hata itakuwa labda siku 2 ID yako imetoka. Lakini sasa kumbe ikiwekwa kwa 3 mambo inakuwa slow. Saa hii mtu ana apply ID inachukua kama 1 year. Complaints unapata students. For example, labda wenye wanataka kujoin university, watu tu wenye wamemaliza shule juzi. Before ujoin university, lazima uapply help wenye wanataka kujoin university. Uwezi apply bila ID. Aya, uwezi hata register SIM card bila ID. Hakuna kitu unaweza fanya bila ID. So hata hiyo university uwezi join bila hiyo ID. Sasa hata kitu inatushangaza ni kwani zile printers ama ile machines tu walikuwa wanatumia hiyo kutoka, kama mimi sasa kuna time nilikuwa nimepoteza ID 2021. Hiyo yenye waliniprintia nayo kwa hiyo 14 days. Kwani hiyo machine iliharibika siku gani? Saa hii iweze fanya kazi na anyway hata kama imeharibika ingekuwa ID ingekuwa inaprintiwa kila mtu, si hivyo? Saa hii unasikia ukienda utoe bribes, unasikia watu kuna watu wanaitisha bribe. Ukitoa bribe hiyo machine all of a sudden inaanza kufanya kazi magically. Ni kama kuna miracles zinafanyika huko ndani. Ukitoa tu bribe hivi kidogo hiyo machine inaamuka usiku unaprintiwa ID yako. Lakini ukikosa kutoa bribe hiyo ID haitoki. Ndio nashangaa kwani hii machine inafanya kazi. Na si ID peke yake, unapata tena watu wa passport, wa birth certificate wako na the same problem. Sasa unaona au na pia mpaka death certificate. Imagine mpaka death certificate huwezi tolewa. Haya, kuna time president alikuwa amesema watu waanze kuapply hii makazi ya kwenda abroad. So nikashangaa utaapply aje kazi ya kwenda abroad na bado hakuna ID? Utaapply aje? Utaenda hiyo abroad aje? Na uwezi ID sahi uwezi apply. Haya. Kuna pia I hope hapa ndani kwa hii space kuna experts ama pia watu wenye wanajua sheria vizuri ndio watuambie hii issue ya ID kuexpire. Hii issue ya expire ya ID. Mimi nilishangaa wakati mimi nilichukua ID yangu, ID iko na expire. But anyway, niko na swali kama nikuwe na for example driver's license. Si niko na driver's license yenye huwa na renew tuseme after say 3 years. Nikirenew driver's license na bado ni document ya serikali yenye serikali inajua profesa ako hii dunia anaendesha gari. Si mtu mwenye ako hii dunia si bado kama niko hai si ndio naendesha gari. Na renew hiyo document na bado nalipa serikali. Nalipa hiyo charges yote ambayo inaitishwa. Bado tena on the other side niende tena niitishwe nilipe ID tena. A document ambayo driver's license hiyo ID bado ni documents ya serikali. So ni kuduplicate hiyo. Anyway, I was actually hoping kwa hii space kama one of those 3 PSs wenye kwa hiyo department ya interior kama Raymond angeingia ama huyo Salome huyo ama huyo Pito kwa immigration kama angeingia kwa hii space ndo tungemuuliza hii maswali, kwa sababu people have been complaining. Sahi kwa DM yetu there are hundreds of people wenye wana complain, wanasema mimi nimeapply ID for the last 1 year imekwama, na anafaa kufanya. Nyinyi mnajua hakuna kitu unaweza fanya bila ID. ID ndio unaanza na, hakuna kitu yote yenye unaweza fanya. There is nothing you can apply bila kukuwa na ID. Hasa kama ID imekwama for 1 year, utafanya kitu gani? Hata kama ni kusemekana basi tujenge nchi, utajenga nchi namna gani na hakuna kazi unaweza fanya ama hata kuapply kazi yote kama hauna ID? A very basic thing. Sisi tulichoose kufocus na hiyo topic ya mambo ya ID sababu ya watu walicomplain sana. Na pia hata we hope labda wakianza kufanya waanze kuprint hizo ID. What I'm encouraging the rest of us Kenyans ni kwamba every state department ya serikali tukuwe tuna criticize. Sisi tukicriticize hivi tukipiga kelele ndio wanakuwa efficient, kwa sababu why are we paying these guys? Tunalipa hii watu watufanyie kazi. Hiyo efficiency ndio tunataka. We are paying these people ndio watufanyie kazi. Si ati tunawalipa tu waende wasubai bure. Hata mimi siwezi taka ati nilipwe nini nisubai tu bure. Kusubai sidhani kuna mtu anafaa alipwe kusubai. We are paying these people for us to work for, for them to work for us. Sisi tunawaitisha ile tu kuwalipa, tunawalipa watufanyie hiyo kazi. That is all we are asking for, and that is why we have decided sisi kama professor we will focus on this. And anyway, we are asking them, why are you not responding? For the last kama 2 or so weeks, people have been complaining. Hata sisi tumekuwa tukiandika hapa, tunataka hata tumetaka mpaka William, because William is their boss. Tumetaka mpaka hao ma PS au wote, all those people, mpaka hiyo huduma nini walikuwa wametublock hiyo handle ya huduma. At some point they had blocked us. I was wondering, how do you block your employer? How do you block a person who has employed you? The citizens of this republic are the people who have put you in those offices. Kama sio sisi tuwaweke kwa hiyo maofisi, hiyo ofisi hata haingekuwa. Hata tukipiga kelele, tupige kelele, lakini msitu block, because when you block us tutaongea aje na nyinyi sasa? How are we going to communicate?
Yeah.
I was actually hoping among all my PS na nini wange tuongelesha, they should respond. Huyo Bitok, huyo Julius Bitok mwenyewe, huyo wa PS anasimamia mambo ya immigration na citizen services, yeye ndo angefaa kuwa ana respond sahi, atuambie what is the problem, what is the issue, because
kwa nini wanatutesa? Why are they persecuting us? Ni kama hawaelewi the language of this young generation. Ni kama hawaelewi what this young generation is saying. Edgar, hebu angalia inbox, kuna message nimekutumia. I don't know if the echo is still there. I had so many gadgets here to control the space, but nimezima zote. So I don't know why the PSs are, sisi tunawalipa. Nimeona hapa Dr. Inyangala huyu wa education wameenda wameongeza fees. Sasa nyinyi mnajua tu saa hizi maisha ni ngumu, watoto wazazi wana struggle. Mtoto anasoma high school, anang'ang'ana, anapata hiyo B, anajua gavaita subsidize, alafu anaenda campus anaambiwa lipa 120,000. Kwa inbox yangu niko na vijana wengi, wanafunzi who are going to the university, they are unable to pay. As I saw another one from ilikuwa inaitwa this Technical University of Kenya. Ametoka kufanya course na anaambiwa alipe 180,000 per year. So amenitumia kwa inbox nimsaidie kuchanga, because again basari atapewa 2,000. And you see the PS mko hapa, most of you mnanisikiza. Hata nimeona Dr. Beatrice, can you tell us what is going on? Kwa nini mnatesa watoto wa Kenya? When these our watoto wanaenda streets, do you people listen to them? I've seen you PS Dr. Beatrice here.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I am under the weather, but you are my bosses, you're our bosses. I'm listening very keenly, and I'm very happy to join you this evening. Before I say anything, I want to speak like a mother. I'm a mother of many, and I'm also a mother of all the university students. I empathize with all comrades and every family, every brother, sister, cousin here who have missing relatives, missing classmates, I feel your pain, the pain of a mother. I feel your desolation. I want to assure you that government is not your enemy. The individuals without regard for the rule of law are the enemy. Your anger is genuine. Let us give state institutions time to bring the perpetrators to book. Education, beyond all other devices of human origin, is the great equalizer of our conditions as men. It is the balancing wheel of the social machinery. Allow me, my bosses, because you're the ones who have employed me, before I answer your questions, to just emphasize that as government, we appreciate the resources that families are investing in the education of our children. We share a common interest in these resources being used optimally so that we can produce quality graduates and also find jobs for our children who complete university education. The government, too, has been investing in education. And as you know, everybody talks about the differentiated unit cost. Please, now that I'm here, allow me, my bosses, to explain to you how this differentiated unit cost used to work. In this differentiated unit cost, every cost of a program was determined scientifically. And so let me use the example of medicine, which is actually the most expensive. Medicine at 612,000 Kenya shillings each year. So when medicine was, it is 612,000 Kenya shillings a year. It has been during the differentiated unit cost, and it is even now. But what happened during the differentiated unit cost when students were paying only 16,000? So they paid 16,000. That is 8,000 semester 1 and 8,000 semester 2. But then universities had other charges, medical, library, identity. And so put together, they were paying an average of 50,000. And I'm sure I have comrades listening here who can say the truth that they were actually paying an average of 50,000. So that means from around 28,000 to around 70,000. So that is what the university students were paying.
Okay.
Now,
Just hold on there.
government,
You just have to answer these questions directly. The technical jargon can be left to the technocrats. What most of Professor and his team who are struggling to get IDs, who are struggling to be in the university, they have no food, they have nowhere to go, yet they're supposed to be in class. The question is their fees going to be revised downwards?
I'm getting there because I want to clarify that fees has not increased. That is why I'm getting there. So when the students were paying 50,000, government had obliged to pay 80% of the 612,000. But over time, government never paid this 80% of the 612. It was paying from 67%, and by the time we came in, it had gone down to 34%. So what am I saying? I'm saying that nobody was paying this cost to educate our children. And that's why our universities were insolvent. That is why Egerton, for example, was paying lecturers 60% of their salaries. Lecturers were committing suicide. And so we said,
PS, please.
Yes.
Let me get this clear. So the government was not paying lecturers. The lecturers were committing suicide. And therefore, to mitigate lecturers from committing suicide, you increase fees on students. Because that's what you're trying to say.
I have explained that fees has not increased. It is a matter of these fees being shared between government and households. And how does, according to the new framework, how does the government support? Depending on the level of the students who have the greatest level of need, government supports 95%. 70% scholarship, 25% loan, and the student pays only 5%. This is what has not been clear. So if the school fees is 600,000, for example, for medicine, our most vulnerable students will pay only 30,000. 15,000 semester 1, 15,000 semester 2. And I am saying I'm in Jogo House, 10th floor. If any student who is vulnerable is not paying 5%, come to my office. Let us address your issue.
Thank you.
Because
Hold it
that
there.
is the framework.
Hold it there, Beatrice. Steve, unasikia hii maneno?
Yes, niko on.
Unasikia hii maneno serikali inasema?
Nimesikia hiyo maneno.
Allow me to answer the question.
Just hold on,
okay,
just hold on a bit.
Okay, allow me to answer the question. Students who don't have IDs, can they apply for government support? Yes, they can apply. They can apply using their birth certificates. They can apply using the CUPS, Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service has given them a unique identifier, a number. That is enough. Any student who does not have an ID, please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a family, let them apply. And if they have any problem, my office is open. Let them come to me. I will help them.
What is your office?
Jogo House, 10th floor.
10th floor.
Yes.
Room number?
It is at the right corner, at the end of the right corner of the corridor. Nobody can miss it. Yes, I am there to serve you, and I am ready and willing to serve you any day of the day, any time of the day and night.
All right.
That's why I'm
So
here.
if
even
you're a
from-
student, I know most of them are in my DM.
Yes.
If you have an issue with your university, paying fees, applying loan, help, and all those, go to Jogo House, floor number 10, and occupy the room at the right corner, and tell her you came to space and you promised this. Why am I being paid? Why am I being told to pay this much? So hold in there, Dr. Beatrice.
You're
Honorable
most
Steve.
welcome.
Yeah, Honorable Steve.
Yes, Eric.
Go on. Jiru, we are
first,
also
thank you
waiting
very
for
much
Jiru
for
to come
giving me
and
this
continue.
opportunity.
Asante. Edgar, you can take over.
Okay. Yeah, Eric, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm glad to see we are heading somewhere as a country where people can deliberate and look for fundamental solutions to our problems. Now, just to begin with, I'd like to add on the issue of IDs, what Professor was speaking about. And I want to let Kenyans know that this issue of ID, it is not what people perceive. I want Kenyans to understand that Kenya has been chosen as a pilot country in the implementation of what we call the New World Order. The New World Order agenda is an agenda that entails what we call a one world government. And this is not an agenda that was started yesterday. It is an agenda that has been put on set from the year 1946 after the Second World War. Immediately after the Second World War, on the 13th of February in 1946, the UN formulated what we call the UN Charter with one goal. And the entire goal was to break down sovereignties of all countries and build what we call a one world government. During that time, let me just take you through so you understand, and I'll reach the ID so that we understand where we're going as a country, because we seem to look at things at the face value, but without us understanding the root cause of our problems, I don't think we'll find a fundamental solution. So from the 1940s and 50s, this agenda was spearheaded by a group of billionaires called the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group are the richest families in the world. Name them the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, the House of Lorraine, the Habsburgs, all of them. And towards 1970s, they formulated and rebranded into a group known as the World Economic Forum. That was in 1971. The World Economic Forum is a forum that is spearheaded by a German economist called Klaus Schwab. And this is the mother organization that is spearheading this new world order agenda. And remember, this is the same organization that the group has taken full control of this country we call Kenya. You know, we have to speak as it is for us to understand where we are going, where we are, and where our problems began. The World Economic Forum works in subsidiary with the other Bretton Woods institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank. Together with them, spearheading the health agenda is the WHO and the United Nations. So these people had an agenda from the 1940s to build a world with a one government. When I talk of a one government, I'm talking of one military, one president, one currency, one system, judicial system, military system, to build one, where the center of command will be under one leadership. So in this Africa we're talking about, I don't know how we got to this point where now Kenya has become the prototype for all these implementations. And I'm glad when my brother Willis Otieno was speaking, I'm glad he understands that Kenyans, we are being turned into slavery in day broad light. All these shenanigans and things you are seeing, all these policies and implementations that are being brought forward ever since the KK government got into office are all spearheaded and pushed to us by these globalist organizations. Number one, their biggest agenda is to depopulate the whole world. They are very clear in their agenda, and they say for the implementation of the New World Order, the first thing they have to do is to reduce the number of people on Earth from a number of about 8 billion to a maximum of 500 million to 1 billion people. And how do you do that? So their first implementations was things to do with food and agriculture. And that is why you'll notice most of the implementations and policies that are being implemented in this country from Uhuru Kenyatta's time were policies to do with health, food and agriculture, and land. Simply because they understood the only way to control mankind is to control the food. As it is said, he who feeds you controls you. So how are they able to manage, how are they able to control our food supply and our food agricultural practices? It is through policies in these governments that are puppets to these globalist organizations. Today in this country, we know very well that the entire assembly has been held captive by the executive. But at the same time, we have to understand that our entire leadership has also been held captive by these globalists. All these agricultural policies that are being implemented in Kenya are meant to take full control of our food production, food supply, and our entire agricultural practices. In the New World Order agenda, they state clearly that their main objective is to transfer food production and agricultural practices together with assets and land from individuals to the big corporations. In the sense that, as my brother Willis had said, we are being taken back to slavery. The New World Order agenda entails to take control of the entire ownership of properties, assets, and everything else on planet Earth. But the saddest thing is that we are being pushed towards an agenda that many Kenyans are not aware of, many Kenyans are not speaking about. Even our entire leadership, most of them don't know where these globalists are taking us to. So once they control the food, today you know very well that agriculture is under their control, and they managed to do it through policies. And these policies started during Uhuru Kenyatta's time, when Kinjuri brought forward a document called agricultural certification policy or something he brought about when he was the Minister of Agriculture, where they brought policies to do with seeds, where you cannot share seeds. and they allowed these multinational globalist organizations such as DuPont, Cargill, Monsanto, they allowed them to come and patent seeds here. Today in this country, it is a crime to even share seeds with your neighbor. Today in this country, it's a crime to use seeds that are not patented. And remember, most of these GMO seeds that were being implemented to plant and to consume are what we call terminator seeds. In the essence that once you use that seed, you cannot replant it in the next season. So what does that mean? It means if you need to plant in your next season, you must go back to them and they'll sell it to you at your price, and they can decide whether to sell it to you or not to sell it to you. So this is slavery.
Let me interrupt you a bit. So wadau kitu Mwesha anasema sisi tumekuwa slaves kwa slave market. Government imekuwa kama slave broker. Au ndio tunapeleka kwa slave market, alafu sisi tunaenda tunauzwa huko. Na kuna 3 things zenye our brokers wanatufanyia. Kitu ya kwanza, wameuza health yetu. Ukitaka kujua wameuza health yetu, uangalie vizuri ni nani amechaguliwa kuwa minister wa health. Ni mtu ametoka WHO. Na nilikuwa naambia mtu jana, kama president angetaka kuemploy ama kupatia cabinet secretary wa health, mbona asingeita KMPDU awambie, cheki, nataka ni work na mtu mwenye mnataka. Hebu angalieni kwa hiyo union yenyu, ni nani manager mpoa mwenye anaweza fanya hiyo kazi. Mnaona? Ama aite governors. Governors wanakuanga na kitu inaitwa governors council. Kwa hiyo governors council kuna health committee. Akae nao waseme, huko kwa makaunti zenu, hebu angalieni ule daktari mwenye ni manager mwenye anafanya kazi poa, mlete ni work na yeye. Because huyo ndiye anaelewa shida zetu kwa county level. So huyo anaweza create synergy between the national government and the county government. Juga mnanipata hapo. So hao wameletewa mtu kutoka WHO akwe hapo kama minister. Unajua inamaanisha nini? Inamaanisha vaccines zitaanza kuja Kenya. Hiyo inamaanisha wewe kama ni mzazi utakuwa unaambiwa mtoi wako kesho atadungwa vaccine ya minyoo. Kesho ingine anaambiwa parent kuna vaccine ya homa ya nguruwe. Watoto wako watadungwa. Kesho watapewa madawa za minyoo. Umeelewa? Na watu hawaoni hiyo. Juzi nimeona madaktari wakicelebrate. Wakisema ametoka WHO. Hamuelewi the global agenda yenye Steve anaongelea. Sijui kama mnampata. He is talking about it. Alafu kuna history ya agriculture. Saa hizi mimi nakumbuka nikigrow up, my grandmother tulikuwa tunapanda mahindi, alafu tukivuna hiyo mahindi anachukua hiyo mahindi hiyo cob anaipeleka huko juu kwa jikoni yake. So wakati anapika hiyo moshi inaiwarm for a whole year. Hiyo mwaka inafuata anachukua hizo seeds anazisoak, alafu asubuhi tunaenda tunapanda. Saa hizi hauwezi. Ukinunua seed leo huwezi panda next year because hizo seeds zimekuwa patented. So tumenyang'anywa kitu inaitwa seed sovereignty. Huwezi panda chakula, ni mtu anakupandia hiyo chakula. Alafu slavery ya tatu ni yenye imetupeleka kwa street, economic slavery. Sasa sisi tumekuwa kama mbuzi kwa mnada. Ndio maana watu kwa street. Tuko kwa street kwa sababu tumekuwa slaves. Ndio tunaongelea sana juu ya economic slavery, lakini mkumbuke kuna health slavery, kuna agriculture slavery. Na kwa hiyo health, ukitaka kujua mambo ya depopulation for example, kwa nini wana push hormonal contraceptives kila siku? Yet mwanamke anakuanga fertile only 6 days in a month. 6 days peke yake ama 72 days in a year. Kwa nini adungwe kitu yenye nakaa kwa mwili yake for 5 years? Na watu hawaoni the agenda. Hii global agenda kina Bill Gates na nani, their aim is to kufanya sisi tukue slaves in our own country, in our own nation. Next time mtaambiwa sasa wewe farmer, juu haupandi mahindi, kuna ile apartment tumejenga pale free housing, affordable house, wacha tukupeleke huko. Hii shamba cha tukupeleke kama 100,000. Wewe tukupe 100,000, wewe tuachie shamba tutakuwa tunapanda potatoes za kupeleka KFC ng'ambo. Hiyo ndio kitu wanatupangia, lakini watu hawaoni. Hiyo ndio kitu tunaongelea, inafaa muamke. Kama COVID-19 haikukufunza kitu, hakuna kitu taikufunza tena. Nyinyi mliona COVID-19 vile mlikuwa tunafungwa kama kondoo, tunafungiwa kwa manyumba. Yet tulisema in Africa hakuna vile COVID-19 itatu affect. Hakuna. Mkafungwa kwa manyumba, mkaambiwa mvae mask, mlikuwa mnakaa kama kondoo, mnadungwa mashindano huku na huku, hata mjui shindano imetoka wapi, nani ameleta, nani amemanufacture, mnaambiwa tu endeni mdungwe.
Na wewe pia unapanga line hapo kama kondoo, mnanizushia hapa up, nawaambia wachane na hizo vitu, mnanizushia hapa up. Now see where we are today. Watu wana collapse tu wakianguka chini, wakianguka chini, wakianguka chini. Amuoni kitu kama hiyo? Edgar, uliza maswali zako kwa PS.
Thank you so much, Amerix. So, with all the due respect, Dr. Beatrice, while you are speaking, kulikuwa na watoi walikuja DM yangu. These are kids with no IDs. These are kids wenye wako shule, wameapply for this very important document na hawajapewa. So wanauliza hivi, why are you lying? Because how can you say that one can apply for help with a birth certificate? Mtu anaweza fungua bank account na birth certificate. Is it logical? Juu help lazima iende kwa bank. So na kufungua bank account unahitaji KRA pin. So sahi KRA pin unaweza ifungua na birth certificate. Ama ni huku Shinyalu ndio tunadiscriminatiwa. You will answer those questions. Ndegwa Njiru, advocate. You can go.
Yes. Thank you very much. I have listened to the submissions of various individuals and the summary you've given from Steve and the process of the enslavement of the African child. It has left me so much baffled because whatever you are speaking is a reality on the ground. And the most important thing is that the enslavement is both social, political, and economical. If you look at the social enslavement, you realize that they have now started pushing an agenda that is geared towards depopulating the human race, the LGBTQ. I'll not submit much on it. I'll only post it as a challenge for you to ponder and just to prove to you how the enslavement is taking place. When Uhuru Kenyatta decided to do Galana Kulalu, a food basket that would have sorted out greater 20% or 30% of our food insecurity. What happened to the project? The project was frustrated by those people who want to control the food sovereignty. So in real sense, it is calling for our self-introspection. But how does it begin and how did we get ourselves here? We got ourselves here when we elected a government that does not respond to the plight of the people. We got ourselves here when we got a government, or when we elected a government that looks at self-enrichment as opposed to propagating policies that are enfiat mwananchi, policies that will be able to propagate the human race, policies that are able to respond to our social challenges, political challenges, and economic challenges. We have enslaved ourselves. It is we who elected this government. It is we who shall elect the future government. But we never hold these individuals to account. You have just submitted, Eric, very ably, that if Mr. William Ruto was interested in having a worker as a minister for health, he had very good channels where he would have gotten clear advice. Because he's there
I think Advocate Njiru is having connection issues. Amerix, can you be able to get him?
I'm unable to get him. I can see him on the speaker's panel. Jiru? Jiru? All right, Steve Mbogo, you can finish your prosecution of the problem and then give us a solution. We do not want to
Yes.
spend
Yes.
so much time on the problems. Let us get the problem, then
Yes.
give us the correct remedy for this, because we need to take action.
Exactly. So I was just explaining to you the issue of control of agriculture, and I'm glad also you seem to you do understand their next
sorry.
procedure or their next step of. Sorry. Okay.
I had lost the mic. Some guys were calling. Sorry about that. I was
All right.
submitting that I was not baffled when I had the PS not able.
We lost you again.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Let,
we
let,
can
me-
hear
let
you.
me just
Maybe you
sort
can
out
sit.
this person who is. I'm saying I'm not baffled when I hear the PS unable to explain why people are not able to get IDs. The lack of IDs is a political agenda for Mr. William Ruto. He has understood that we are 28 million strong, and that gives him sleepless nights. He's wondering, if I give these guys IDs, what will be my political future? If they're able to go to the streets and Article 35, 37 of the Constitution, what will happen to the regime?
I think you have connection issues, Ndegwanjiru. Maybe you are on the road or something. Can you hear him? Edgar?
I think he's lost.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah. Maybe Steve can, you can mute Ndegwa. He's on the road, I suspect. That's why his network is on and off.
Yes.
Or no, there's some guy who is keeping on
Okay.
calling. Can you hear
Yes,
me
yes,
now?
yes. You can prosecute your issues as quickly as possible.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Anyway, as we wait for him, news just in is that Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. So one down. He has dropped out. These are the people who are really messing our world as we speak. They infiltrate our world with neoliberal agenda, Zionism, and all those things that make us not human beings. We become robots. We eat bad foods. We get bad medicine. We live like robots or something. Steve Mbogo, can you finish your prosecution, please?
Yes. So I was talking about the agricultural and agricultural practices control. So actually, Eric, their main objective is to take full control and transfer agricultural land and practices from individuals to these globalist organizations. And that is why I'm glad you understand the issue of this new affordable housing agenda. It's an agenda that no Kenyan can really explain, because this agenda is not a Kenyan agenda. I'll tell you with confidence that even the plans and the drawings for these projects of the new housing agenda were done by the IMF and these globalist organizations. And their main objective is, most of it is coming under the social panel, where they're saying it's going to be for social activities, to give the houses to the people. But their main objective is to compensate those people who are going to lose their land in the rural and urban areas. Many at times, and Kenyans, this is a time where we have to be listening to what our leaders say. Because if you want to know where leaders are taking you, stay keen and understand the words they are pronouncing time and again. Many at times the president has pronounced that it is time as Kenyans. We have to free up land from rural areas and move to urban areas. And that is why these housing projects are done only within the towns. If really they were supposed to empower or bring up the poor people and embrace the mamamboga and boda boda, as it is said, these are projects that will even be done in rural areas where people have cheap or poor settlements. But the main objective is to take over the land and put people under a project in the New World Order known as the 15-minute cities. The 15-minute cities appear very pretty in the pronouncement, and they say it is a group of leaders all over the countries that are coming together to combat what we call climate change. But the reality is, this is the projection of the future of the world, where they want to put people in a sort of a concentration camp, and people will only be living within these small cities. That's why they name them the 15-minute cities. And the entire land and property will be transferred to these globalist organizations. Eric, if you do your research today in America, actually 44% of single family homes have already been taken over by these globalist organizations. Big companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, StreetGuard, all owned by these cabals I'm talking about. Now, the moment you take these people into these concentration camps, you need to find a way to control them. And that is where they're coming up with the agenda of what you call the digital ID. Let me tell you, Eric, printing an ID, ever since you were born in this country, issuance and printing of IDs is one of the easiest job a government can do. But you'll agree with me, for the last 2-3 years, this activity has hit a snag, and it has been intentional, simply because they are gearing towards the launching of what we call the digital world ID. The president himself pronounced and said that very soon we will launch digital IDs, and these digital IDs will be free. And he went mute on that agenda. Because what they do, what the globalists do, is they prepare you in their pronouncements. Now, these digital IDs, their main objective is for total control of mankind. And the worst of it all, the digital IDs come handy because of the introduction of the new world currency, which are called the central bank digital currencies. Again, I repeat, the president himself, sometimes back when there was the issue of the dollar, he stood in front of Kenyans and told Kenyans that it is time you have to sell your dollars for those who are hiding dollars, because dollars will be no more. These globalists are planning to crash the entire economical system we use today and bring in what we call central bank digital currencies. And these central bank digital currencies are what will be attached to your digital ID. So for instance, if Eric, you don't follow the rules and orders created by these cabals, your digital currency is switched off. That means you can't transact, you can't buy anything, you can't move from anywhere. Number two, the same digital IDs are what will be used in the election practices. So that means, my friend, you'll be waking up in the morning during election day and you realize and you find that you already voted for the government or whoever will be in charge of those systems. So all these implementations that are happening in Kenya are geared towards this agenda. And we have to understand as Kenyans, if you're not able to address these implementations that are happening in this country, then we are fighting a losing battle. It is until we start addressing and fighting this globalist agenda, that's when we'll find a solution to these problems. I'm glad the way my brother, Senior Counsel Willis, started and said, if you look at all the names that were proposed by the president yesterday for the cabinet secretary's position, a majority of them serve an interest. I want to make you understand that in the economical, health, and agricultural fields in this country, the globalists managed to infiltrate and put their people in there. When you look at the economical pillar of this country, majority and the bosses who are in charge, for example, Kamau Thuge is a gentleman who worked in the IMF for more than 20 years. In fact, he was a director or in charge of debt in developing countries. Someone like Ndungu was also in the board of the IMF and also worked and served in the board of the World Economic Forum. When you look at the former CS, Nakumicha, this year in March, actually, she was appointed to be a member of the board in the World Economic Forum. The new lady Baraza, who was nominated yesterday by the president, has also been a member and has worked with the WHO. So these are people who are being put strategically to implement policies for the globalist agenda and not for the Kenyan agenda. So it is until we address these issues on a nutshell and speak as it is, then my brothers and sisters, we are fighting a losing battle. So it is time Kenyans have to wake up. It is time Kenyans have to look, flip the coin, look at the other side of the coin and also the sides of the coin. Because we are dealing with a government that has really become a puppet of these globalists, and their main intention is to dig us deeper into this hole of debt, hole of depopulation, the hole of slavery. And if we don't watch out, the implementations are being spearheaded at an alarming speed. When you talk of vaccinations today, I have been complaining online that many counties, I happened to come across letters from about 4 or 5 counties from Mount Kenya, where school kids are being vaccinated involuntarily. Today, in the World Health Organization report, even their scientists are coming out clean, claiming that most of these vaccines are harming these children. You and I know very well after the COVID vaccination, most of us who are vaccinated, a lot of people have developed very, very serious illnesses, from myocarditis to blood clots to immunology disorder to infertility disorder. But look at what has been happening. Ever since Nakumicha joined the World Economic Forum in March, she has been spearheading a vaccination agenda across the country for the last 6 months. Every weekend, she's out there to speak about vaccination. In India, some years back, about 24,000 girls were vaccinated with the HPV vaccine. And these kids became so ill to an extent that the government chased the Bill Gates Foundation from India. Now remember, these big NGOs and these foundations from these globalists are the people who are in charge of this country today. If you look at even the recent rejected finance bill, they had proposed to remove taxes and levies on NGOs, simply because the biggest NGOs of the cabals have put foot in our country. So, Eric, as I conclude, I want people to understand that this issue, which is the bone of contention, you're talking about the ID issue, it is not a matter of government systems failing to print IDs. No. These are conditions that have been given to them, and they're delaying the process as they wait to launch what you call the digital ID, which will be conjoined with what you call the central bank digital currencies.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
Yes.
this is serious. I also saw you saying something about our minerals, and there's been a very number of spaces here talking about minerals, and I am shocked to learn that Kenya has minerals. Kenya has gold.
Yes, my
I
brother.
am shocked that this thing they call diatomite somewhere here in Kriandusi, that there are other minerals there that are very valuable. And I was just Googling, and there is that trona in Magadi, which is in billions. And I'm also told we have a lot of minerals in Taita, a lot of minerals in Laikipia, a lot of minerals in Naivasha. Why are we not being told about minerals?
Very good, Eric. First, you have to understand that Kenya as a country, as per our geological surveys, we have about 970 minerals in existence in Kenya. And that begs the question, what is the biggest interest in Kenya with these globalists? Today, you and I will agree that the largest owners of land in this country are not Kenyans. After the government, the largest owners of land in this country are the British. And the majority of those big land, chunks of land owned by the British have already been taken over by the same globalists I'm talking about. Now, when you talk about minerals, my brother, I want you to understand that minerals are products or elements that grow or evolve. And minerals are created due to different changes on planet Earth. One of the ways minerals form it's formed, now one of the ways is through changes of heat and pressure in the ground. The second one is when salt evaporates or when chemicals come out of hot fluids. So for instance, I'm talking about these hot water lakes, for example. And the other ones are formed when hot gases or molten rocks cool. So when you have that in your back, at the back of your head, you have to understand where to find these activities. So when you talk of heated areas or areas with heated activities on the ground, I'm talking of activities like volcanic mountains or activities like geothermal. When you talk of boiling waters, we talk about areas like where we have what we call boiling lakes, for example, Bogoria, Baringo, Elementaita, Magadi, and all the sort. When you talk of volcanic mountains, how many volcanic mountains do we have in Kenya? We have Mount Kilimanjaro, we have Mount Kenya, we have Mount Longonot, we have Elgon. These mountains, as much as they are not active, but deep down, the volcanic activity is still taking place. It's only that it is not active. So you ask yourself, where do we have these activities in Kenya? When you talk of the volcanic mountains, we have one in Kilimanjaro, we have one in Naivasha area, and one in Mount Kenya area. The boiling lake activities we have in Baringo, Bogoria, Elementaita, Naivasha area, and in Magadi. So you come and ask yourself in this country, having said that the largest owners of land in Kenya are the British or these globalists, you ask yourself, where do they own these chunks of land? All and the majority of the largest chunks of land owned by these people are either in Taita Taveta, either in Laikipia, Nanyuki, Mount Kenya area, or in Naivasha area. And a huge majority are now moving towards Baragoi, Baringo, Bogoria, Kuresoi, Suguta Valley area. And that is because of these natural activities happening in the ground. Now, I want you to understand that the first geological surveys in Kenya were done in the early 1930s and 1940s. And I'll tell you that even by the time the former Russian ambassador of Kenya was living, he mentioned that by the 1940s, all the big nations in the world had understood the wealth or the mineral rich of this country of ours, Kenya. Kenya is a very wealthy country. These are people who've held on to this land for the last 80, 90 years without selling even a piece of it. But what did they do? Most of them demarcated or they turned those pieces of land into what we call national parks or conservancies. And I want all of you to go and check. It is very funny that even the Nairobi National Park, their title deed is under a company called Royal National Parks. It's not even under the government. So there are people who own these conservancies and own these pieces of land in the name of wildlife, but in reality, it is because of the mineral rich or the minerals that are down there. My issue is they have the titles to the land and they own the land because they were smarter than us and they own it. But it is not good for them to sit on those land. Can you imagine millions and millions of land which are not put into use? If they own the land and the land is mineral rich, because we know they are mineral rich, it is time they start the mining activities. If they are not in a position to do that, the government can come in and start these activities so that the government can earn royalties. We cannot have minerals worth billions and billions of dollars while our country is languishing in abject poverty. If you go to an area like Magadi, Magadi has a special railway line all the way from Magadi company to Mombasa. If you look at those bogies that carry the chemical elements in the name of sodium bicarbonate, those containers are security containers. So what are they carrying? What are they carrying? If minerals are formed due to these activities, and this is where these activities are, and these are people who've been mining there from 1920s. One of my main fields or my specialty is in geology. I understand minerals very well. And I'll tell you, I know the minerals that exist in that area. So why are they not coming out clean? Why isn't the government looking into this issue critically? During Uhuru Kenyatta's time, we were told that the military conducted what we call a geological survey. So where is that report? Why haven't they shared with us for us to know and understand what is there so that we can also apply for these licenses? This country is rich in graphite, iron, copper, coltan, manganese, gold, diamond, name it, cobalt, thorium, nickel, chromite, lead, zinc, all these minerals we have in this country. But why are we languishing in abject poverty? It is because we have a government that does not understand how to take this country forward. It is because we have a government that are so material oriented and they're not ready to help this country move forward. Remember, issues to do with leadership is about guidance and problem solving. Today we are in this debt trap. How do we come out of it? If these people have the titles to this land, why don't we? Rumor has it. Majority of these areas where we are being told that there is banditry, it is not actually banditry. The reality is human displacement that is happening there. There's so much deposits of hydrocarbon and minerals even to do with uranium in this country. But why aren't our leaders speaking about these things? We don't mind them owning the mines. Yes, they can own the mines, but let them put them into work. Let them not mine in secrecy. Once they put them into work, they're going to create employment. They're going to build amenities around the area. And that is where we will solve our problems. Remember, economic liberation should be our core objective in taking this
Yes,
country forward.
economic
The
liberation.
biggest problem we have in
Yes.
this country, yes, economic liberation. The moment we are economically empowered, let me tell you, Eric, we will solve all these other problems.
Thank you very much. We'll come to you for the solution. But
Yes.
I was watching a video by Matinyarare. He's a seed advocate. And he was saying that Kenya is number 4 on the cancer index list. Number 1 is South Africa. Number 2, Zimbabwe. Number 3, Malawi. Number 4, Kenya. And the major driver for that, GMO seeds. So much GMO seeds. We have lost our seed sovereignty as a nation. And if you want to know that this is a catastrophic event waiting, Zimbabwe was once a bread basket of Southern Africa. But today, as we speak right now, Zimbabwe has no food. There's a drought crisis going on in Zimbabwe right now. And surprisingly, a very tiny country has donated maize to Zimbabwe. That country is called Rwanda. Is that where we want to take our country? Where we cannot farm our food because we have sold our seed sovereignty to globalists? Are we not angry enough? Don't we see our future, the pain that awaits us in the future? Are we selling our resources just like that as we sit? Are we selling ourselves to slavery as we watch? Honestly? And there is someone who says he's a university student and says the government is doing something for them? Honestly? And you come and abuse me? Or abuse someone who wants the government to behave better? Really? Are you normal? There's a group that has been formed here on X where people are discussing this space and abusing me and saying, Americ's na yo takataka yake hiyo ya space hiyo. Just imagine. Are we serious as a country? Kasmuel, are we serious?
You tell me, sir. I do not think we
Are
are.
we serious?
I do not think we are at all.
Go on.
Thank you for this opportunity, Amerix. Fellow Kenyans of goodwill, I would take a rather different angle. I'm a 26-year-old gentleman and might not know so much about my country in terms of history. I might not know who did what or what goes on where, but one thing I'm certain of is that this system is currently not working for us. It is a very painful reality that we are losing people to not only disease and hunger, but now people are dying in the arms of government. It's a far deeper insult that the government will kill us specifically for asking them to be accountable. When we started this, and the tenor and the spirit behind the hashtag Ruto must go, people look at it and think that we are trying to overthrow the government. I have not once in all the protests I have attended, and I have not missed a single one since we started protesting, I have not once met a young person who wants to overthrow the government and occupy that seat. The government has consistently killed us for being peaceful and asking them to be accountable. There are very, very many atrocities that have happened to the country. Some things which are absolutely unbelievable. Like the fact that when I heard Amerix talk about us being high in the cancer index, I'm thinking just beyond lifestyle. We still have toxic nuclear waste that was dumped in Northeastern. And I was wondering, how comes those people who lead a relatively healthy life, where do they have such high cancer prevalence? We have toxic waste, we have minerals, all these other sides. And there's a young person probably who's on this space and they're wondering, I do not have this much information, but I know I have rage and I know I cannot stand for this government in its corrupt nature. I'm here to tell you that it is valid, whatever it is that you're feeling. You do not need to be the most educated for you to understand that we are being churned out of a system that will never assimilate you for work. That if you do not have any connections, and we call them networking, but it is corrupt decisions made by a few individuals, that the wealth disparity in this country is so great, and the people who are part of the elite want to make it look as if you're not hardworking enough. If as a young person you're here and you're listening to the sound of my voice, as we consistently continue to educate ourselves, when that constitution says all sovereign powers belong to the people of Kenya, it is talking about you. Let nobody intimidate you for your lack of knowledge, for you trying to pursue good governance. Because a lot of the people who plunged us into this mess, there are wheeler dealers amongst us who plunged us into this mess, who marketed this president and this current administration, and who currently are trying to piss on our intelligence. I will take a rather different angle because there could be more informed people who will tell you about the fishing basket in the Indian Ocean and how it is a 10 trillion economy that we as Kenyans are not allowed to touch. Despite us knowing that annually, if there's something that can bring the country 10 trillion, we are supposed to pay attention to it. But it is controlled by very few individuals who have stashed their wealth outside. They're given pockets of land in our colonizers' lands, and they take it and they sell our souls. If, as a young person, you're listening and you're wondering what this rage is about, do not listen to anybody who asks you the question, what next? It cannot be that we have marched in vain, that the blood of 50 plus individuals was spilled and shed in vain for the political class to achieve its selfish ambitions and desires. It cannot be that day in, day out, there are people who use these platforms to settle personal scores and try to detract you from our main goal, which is good governance, a country without corruption, and a country where we have accountability, where people are hired through meritocracy. If you're listening to the sound of this voice, let nobody sell you fear. Let nobody teach you how to exercise your democratic right, because today the guns were drawn. Today, the president made himself clear that he will no longer listen to us constitutionally. And part of the things that I listened to his subtlety when he was saying that enough is enough, and you've seen the police do it, you've seen them accuse us of violence. They've said that they've received intelligence that goons are planning to infiltrate the movement. What goons and why do they not act on that intelligence as soon as they find it? If as a young person you are confused about this, I am here to assuage you and let you know that your rage is in the right place. Rage on, march on, forge on, because we are being sold. I've been listening to the submissions of the previous speakers, and it breaks my heart to know that we live in such a country. To remind you young people that what we have achieved in 2 months is the kind of change the country has been seeking to achieve. Do not let the hijack of the political class of the movement discourage you because we started this. I am here to encourage the young people. We will get information, but for God's sake, if you're listening and you're tired, do not rage on because we've just begun. The tribeless, leaderless, partyless, and most especially fearless trope starts now because this is the time. Remember when we were protesting, the president was not this vocal. Today, he said that enough is enough. You've seen another foreign country congratulate a person for their nomination and they've called it a reappointment. I'm asking myself, why would they not do that from personal accounts? How can it be intergovernmental agencies applaud a certain individual in a country for a reappointment before they're even vetted and sworn in? There is something sinister. I will not claim monopoly over knowledge, but I know that our hearts and our rage are in the right place. Please do not allow anybody to sow the seeds of disunity and fear and despair in your hearts. The rage moves on. Exercise your constitutional and democratic right to civil disobedience. We are protesters, not rioters and looters, as some of people are trying to paint us. As a young person, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, rage on, because the people who died, Denzel did not die in vain, Rex did not die in vain, and as if it is not enough, the 12-year-old Shujaa Kennedy did not die in vain. Let their blood not have flowed in vain. There are people who left their homes in the morning and never made it back. There are people whose bodies were riddled with bullets. People who will never walk again. They sacrificed their limbs and their emotions and their organs that we may have a better country. For their sake, let their blood not have flown in vain. We cannot take this from a regime that does not want to listen, a regime that claims dialogue, but dialogue is a preserve of the political class. When they want to dialogue with the clergy, they do it in open camera. When they want to dialogue with each other as political class, they do it on our taxpayers' money, sometimes in resorts. But when they want to dialogue with the youth, it is on the point of a gun, at the other end of a baton looking stupid, or we are found in swamps, floating, tortured, dead. If you dare raise your voice, you are abducted and killed. As a young person, I'm urging you to rage on. The older generation that is here with us have supported us consistently. They are giving us information and equipping us, but let us not be detracted from the rage that is going on, because the rage is not a call to disorder. It is not a call to ban our country. It is a call to proper governance. Rage on, march on. And when you say Ruto must go, you know clearly the issues that we are fighting is a lack of meritocracy. We have seen them pride themselves in tokenistic things where they want to appoint first female things, but that is setting us back ways in which we will never be, because we can never take these tokenistic appointments seriously. Rage on, because they are pissing on your intelligence that once they give us a youth, we find that we can trace them as a proxy to a person who's bearing a case. We said dissolve, not reshuffle. He did exactly that and still gave us people who constitutionally should not even be nominated. He might be playing a long game to try and show us that he has assuaged us, because we know the executive has captured the legislature, and he might take the names so that they are rejected at the legislative level for him to pass off as a person of good governance. We declare that we have seen through that ruse. As a young person, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, rage on. Do not accept your future to be sold out by political prostitutes, people who deal with the lives of millions. And I have said time without number, corruption is akin to genocide. When you take money that belongs to young mothers, you are killing millions of generations.
Kaskazini, you can wind up. You can wind up.
As I wind up, as we plan to occupy, as we plan to continue to exercise our democratic rights, as we plan to implement our constitutional rights, do not be coward. I am calling you to unity. There will be a lot of distractions, there will be a lot of detractions and small talk, but the political class unites, remember that they will use everything they have, which is weapons, money, and the minds that they have at their disposal. Do not let anyone whore with your future. Rage on.
Okay, thank you so much for the solid submission. So I'm going to let Dr. Beatrice, the PS, to answer the questions that were brought upon her. And Daktari, how are you telling these young people to occupy Nyayo House? Na hapo hata Nyayo House
Nyayo?
ukienda bila ID hauwezi ingia. Then another question is, why are you telling them to occupy the 10th floor? You are not telling them the exact room number that you work in. Haujui room unafanya kazi? So if you can answer those questions and the previous ones that I had brought up before I bring in the next speaker.
Okay, Amerix, I am investing valuable time with all of you gathered in this citizen assembly because the issues you are canvassing are very important and I take them very seriously. I want to underline that because I have had some of our brethren here saying I am lying. I wouldn't come here to lie. And Professor and all of us gathered here, you may want to know that so seriously am I taking these issues that I have actually consulted with the PS for Immigration and Citizen Services, Ambassador Julius Bitok, and he has assured me that within a month he would have cleared the backlog on the IDs and he will prioritize university students. That aside, there's my brother, my son, I think, from Shinyalu, who did not believe that you can actually apply for help without an ID. I want to emphasize again that that is possible. So far, HELP has had agreement with Postbank that students can open bank accounts without IDs. And for the rest, they are using their parents' bank accounts. Of course, we have had some challenges with that, but every solution comes with certain challenges that we continue to talk and see how we can co-create solutions. Now, that said, the second question was from Dr. Lawrence Lawino on my account, Uzima University and the money that is owed. Because of the issues that I was explaining about government not having been able to pay 80%, which I was told was too technical and I left it at that, but I can have side conversations on the same. In the end, public universities are owed 137 billion and private universities are owed 51 billion. So these have been submitted to the pending bills committee and they are being verified and a solution, a Marshall Plan will be worked out to resolve this. There was a question, a very valid question about access to information. Should everybody come to Jogo? So we have University Funding Board, we have Higher Education Loans Board. They will provide just the same kind of assistance that I will. And you can also call, they have call centers. So those who need help do not necessarily have to come to Jogo, but those who come are very much welcome. And also, University Funding Board and Higher Education Loans Board have teams in the fields. So if they have not reached you, know that they will reach you because they have teams in the fields answering questions and helping students apply. We also have support through the Huduma centers. We are also engaging the chiefs in the barazas to be able to share information and point wananchi to the right centers of information and support. If also you are near a university, universities have help desks that support in sharing information and helping students apply for this support.